Jane, lovely to see you. And how are you enjoying your reign?
Yes, well, I mean, it's only 2 or 3 months now, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying being back in Yorkshire and working with the county club as well.
Did I see somewhere that you didn't live in Yorkshire and you've dragged a caravan up? It sounds a bit like Glenn McGrath's story when he came to Sydney. You've taken out a caravan somewhere or something similar, have you, to make sure you're living here?
Yes, I've bought a static caravan.
That's brilliant. So Yorkshire's president, first woman living in a static caravan somewhere, how far away?
Just north of Guiseley, just by Guiseley, really. Lots of good people come from Guiseley because I think Harry Brooks just bought a house there and Jeff Copes has got a house there as well, so why not go and join them?
You could have Harry Brook round for tea in the caravan.
That'd be nice, eh?
Oh, that's lovely. So how much time do you spend there?
At the moment, I'm doing a week up in Yorkshire and then a week back down at my house, which is Brackley.
Yes.
So near Silverstone. But it's quite nice not to be there this weekend because it's manic down there this weekend.
Yes, I'm sure I can imagine the traffic. Now, look, this is very significant, Jane, isn't it? I mean, you know, I've been popping down to that committee room over the last 30 years, and you meet all the various presidents who have come through. They're all Yorkshire players. They're all men, obviously.
Yes.
And some of the great names in cricket, you have to say, you know, I mean, Geoffrey Boycott and Dickie Bird and all of these, but never a woman until
No, that's
now.
right. And I think because women's cricket wasn't really publicised much back in the day, then, you know, I am a Yorkshire player and, you know, I have scored a few runs around the world, you know, and played it around the world. But I'm just going to do this presidency in my own way. Just because I am not in the same mould as the other guys, because they're all guys and I'm not. I'm female. So in leadership, I think the only thing you have to be is authentic. So I always say I'm just a girl from Sheffield, and that's what everybody's going to get, really. Just a girl from Sheffield.
So how are you going to do it? You're going to roll your sleeves up?
So I've already been out to see the women play. I've already been out to see Yorkshire disabled team play. I've been to see the second 11s play, both men and women. I've been to county championship games. I've assisted with a building charity that played a T20 at Tick Hill, which is that well-known ground near Doncaster. That was a builders' charity, and they call themselves Bob. I've been and spoken in school assemblies. So I'm trying to rebuild the trust in Yorkshire, because obviously we've been in the news, but not always for the good reasons. So I'm just trying to rebuild the trust in the club, really.
I mean, some quite bad reasons, to be honest. And reputationally, there must have been a lot of damage done, hasn't there?
Yes, I think so. But, you know, I think Yorkshire is a big club. It's well known around the world. So I think to rebuild that trust, we need to sort of show that we value people and that we are trying to do things. And I think my position is one thing that, you know, who would have thought that Yorkshire would have a female president? So that's one example of how the club is starting to be a little bit more a lot more inclusive and a lot more welcoming. Yeah,
and the report that came out recently, I mean, I guess with everything that's happened up here at Yorkshire, you weren't too surprised by some of its contents.
Not surprised. I think it's a big wake-up call for the game. I think I keep saying no one person can change this, but all people together can help change the situation, because we need everybody pulling in the same direction. And, you know, let's all just work for each other. Let's just, you know, I think we all value respect and kindness, and it's not like we have to change things massively. We've just got to be respectful and kind.
Yes. Hear to that. Take us back in the day when you were playing women's cricket then, because I suspect it was a bit different to how it is today. I was talking to you earlier. I mean, Mary Duggan is someone who I know that you've been aware of. She was my first cousin. She was captain of England, and there's some lovely old photographs of her in her white skirt and white socks. And she was just before Rachel Hayhoe-Flint, who I'm sure was someone that you will have known and admired. But what was it like really being a woman cricketer when you were playing?
Yeah, and, you know, didn't think about it. Dad was playing Saturdays, Sundays and Wednesday nights in Sheffield. So every Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday I was at cricket. So Mum was making the sandwiches and I said, Dad, can I play? Because it looked a lot more exciting than making sandwiches.
For sure.
So I have a twin sister, so we played. And we played for my dad's team when we could, and then we discovered there was a women's team, so we went and joined the women's team.
Right.
So, but, you know, I said to you earlier, you know, at the first trip I had to Australia, they said, congratulations, you've been selected. You need to send a cheque for £300. And £300 Doesn't sound much today.
Well, no, but then, yeah.
My wage slip for that month as a teacher, a fully blooded teacher, was £280 for the month. So it was over a month's salary to go and play for England. So,
yeah.
but,
So what year are we talking? What sort of time?
That was 84, 85.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, for a lot of people, that's a long time ago.
I'm old, yeah.
Actually, well, no, but it's not. We're about the same. It doesn't feel that it was that long ago.
No.
To have to pay to go and play for England.
And you had to buy your first blazer. You had to buy all your kit. You know, you had to do everything. And we weren't that wealthy. We weren't wealthy at all, in fact. You know, and when we went to secondary school, my twin sister and I, parents couldn't afford all of our uniform. They got us our school uniform, but couldn't get our PE kit. And then they said, the PE teacher said, you'll never be any good at sport because I didn't have PE kit. So, you know, when I hear now, just twisting it round a bit, that Yorkshire are providing all the equipment and the youngsters in the pathway don't pay for any of the training or anything, and they get free membership, I'm thinking, hallelujah. You know, how brilliant is that? That no youngster will have to go through what I had to go through, where I went on an overnight bus once to London to play for England. It stopped all stations from Sheffield, Chesterfield, Derby, you name it, every place you can think of. But it was safer, I think, to travel then, and there was two of us. But
that does seem absolutely ridiculous now.
Yeah, it does sound ridiculous.
You were saying about the World Cup final that you played at the MCG.
At the MCG.
We might have something in common, Jane, in that I've also played at the MCG in front of about 10 people.
Yes.
And I suspect what it was like when you played in your World Cup final.
When you play in a big stadium and there's nobody there, every sound is ricochets around the ground. You know, you just hear the boing, 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 but because it's not muffled by any people.
Yes.
So, yeah, it was very soulless.
Yeah, but again, it just wouldn't have been on the radar, I suppose. I mean, do you think, 90,000 people thereabouts, 80, 90,000 turned up for the women's recent World Cup
brilliant.
final. I mean,
fantastic.
What a complete transformation, and £320,000 Nat Silverbrunt went for in the women's IPL. I mean, it's just...
And I was at the Oval on Wednesday night when there was 20,385 watching the women's game against the Aussies in the Ashes, which I'm pleased to say we won.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I mean, that was actually a really good result. Tell us about your sister, because you almost got me. Well, you sort of got me when you said who were the last twins to play for England, and I suspect, like everybody, I went bed says, oh no, because Eric didn't play for England. So it's an easy one to go for. You think of... Yeah. And inevitably, ridiculously, I'm afraid, I went for men.
Yes, absolutely. So there's a Trivial Pursuits question.
Yeah.
And so the answer is still what it was, because it was only last year that Jamie Overton joined Craig Overton as being the twins who were the most recent. But the Trivial Pursuits question was, who are the last twins to play cricket for England? And like you, everybody I've ever known always says Alec and Eric Bedsers.
And Eric never played.
But it was Jane and Jill Powell, the Powell twins.
There you are. No, it's fabulous. So when you're down there in your president's box...
Yes.
I mean, people like Dickie Bird and Geoffrey Boycott and sort of these very recognisable names of Yorkshire cricket. I mean, you have felt really kind of included and welcomed, and from the club's perspective.
Yes, I think as I've gone around, so I've been to a lot of county grounds as well. So I've been to Leicester and I've been to Derby, because we're obviously only in the second division at the moment, which we're working hard to try and get out of back into the first division. I've been welcomed. I've been very welcomed wherever I've gone. There have been some times where I've not always been included. So there are times
when... How do you change that? How do you improve that situation? How do people...
I think sometimes it's just making people aware of it. I think there's some unconscious bias, so people don't realise they're not including you. But when all the talk is... So one place it was all about... let's welcome the Yorkshire legends, Jeff Boycott, Jeff Coe, Dickie Bird, who are absolutely Yorkshire legends, but I was completely missed out. Now, I played for Yorkshire for a number of years and I captained Yorkshire for a number of years. Granted, it wasn't in men's cricket, but as far as the women's game is concerned, then I would be well known in the women's game. Yeah. So
that wouldn't happen now, hopefully. I don't think
that was this year.
Yes, right. I'm sort of talking about the recognition of women's cricketers. I mean,
so now
they're
the
much
women,
more.
Today's cricketers are well known, like you said, Nat Silverbrunt, Catherine Silverbrunt. Yes. You know, they're well known names. Tammy Beaumont scoring that wonderful 200.
They did play well.
The Ashes. Yes. You know, Heather Knight. You've got people who are well known now, and so it wouldn't happen now. But it's people from my generation, I guess.
Of course, yeah. I must ask you about Yorkshire again, and the sort of the threat of the sanction that there is hanging over the club. I mean, they're talking about a lot of points deductions potentially in all the competitions, sizable fines as well. I mean, how are you as a club addressing that? Are you still trying to appeal against those punishments?
This is not in my domain, but I know that the club are looking at what is being suggested and are in discussions. So I'm sure that there is a situation, isn't there, where the current squad are not the squad that necessarily were called out, rightly or wrongly, and I don't want to get into the judgment calls on that because that's not my place. So I think, to penalise the people who are playing now, your young Revises and your Finlay Beans and all the great players that are coming through, George Hill, it does seem a bit harsh on them. But, we as a club will we will debate it. And then when we feel that that's okay, that's where we've got to, then we'll take it on the chin, and then we can hopefully put it to bed, learn from it, and move forward.
And there's also the question of that large amount of money still being owed to Colin Graves as well. I mean, that's something presumably again that also has to be addressed.
Yes, and I understand that there are ongoing discussions with that, and that's not to be political and sort of to give the politicians non-answer, but I don't know the ins and outs of that, but I know that there's lots of discussions going on, and I understand that Stephen Vaughan will be he's hopeful that he can announce something in a couple of months' time.
Okay, well, that's good news. In the meantime, look at all these. Look at this. It's fantastic,
brilliant, isn't it? And what
President of Yorkshire, and you're looking at this full house on a beautiful day. You must be really proud about that.
Yes, I am, and just going around and speaking to the crowd and speaking to our lovely Yorkies, our volunteers in bright pink.
Yes, they're all very bright pink.
They're all having a great time and loving doing what they're doing, and they said they love volunteering for the club and they love welcoming people in, and I hope that other people who come here will feel welcome and that it will once again regain its strength, because when Yorkshire's strong, England's strong.
I thought you might end with that somehow.
Well, that's what my dad that's how I was brought up, Mind you, he also said, if you win the toss, think about putting them in and bat yourself. So that's probably one for the purists out there.
Yeah. Jane, congratulations. Enjoy your...
Thank you very much.
Up to 3 years, I think, isn't it?
I think so, yes.
Yeah? Well, good luck. It's lovely to have met you.
Thanks very much. Lovely to talk to you.
Jane Powell, there we go, the President of Yorkshire. A lovely lady. And rolling her sleeves up and going to address the various issues up here in Yorkshire.